So as always, I had to make a couple of adjustments. The bar underneath had to be raised to match this body line over here. It was only off about a half of an inch, but not too bad for guesswork. But I had to cut it loose and raise it up and reset it. Since then, I've been working on cutting apart the. I have a couple of partial quarter panels because of this shape. It's very complex, nearly impossible to make this shape happen by hand. So just slicing it up and moving the sections together to get them right with a wheel hole, and cutting this all up here and trying to get this all to blend in, all in the name of trying to get this bumper surround finished so that I can see if I'm heading in the right direction. I'm kind of flying blind here with a lot of this stuff, a lot of guesswork until I can actually see what's going on. So I have a temporary bar down here, which that'll be I'll have to weld some outriggers on there and permanently attach that. That'll be for the lower the roll pan. I don't know why I have such a hard time describing the roll pan, but the roll pan will connect to that lower bar, and then I'll have to try and see what I can do about make this transition. This is a pretty difficult one because it both rolls under and then it also flips out. So we have to do a combination of a. Yeah, it's just difficult. Just let me just say that about that. But this was a pretty difficult piece to achieve, also because of the fact that it has to be, it has to kind of round over in this direction, all the way down underneath to match the roll pan. Excuse me, the bottom of the bumper, and so it has to have some shape in this direction. So I had to, beat it with the hammer and, hit it with the English wheel and get this shape in it and shrink the edges over with the shrinker stretcher to get it to conform to that shape. But I'm not unhappy with it, but as with everything, you have to do two of everything with a car. And I didn't want to commit to anything until I saw whether or not this was going to look okay, or if I was headed in the right direction. No use doing everything on that side, only have to cut everything back up. So I'm going to work out all the details on this side of the car first before I pursue catching the other side of the car up. I wish I had my wheels here, but it was promised my wheels. And with everything that you buy that's not right in front of you, they give you a bunch of stories about how the dog ate my homework and everything else, and why somebody was supposed to ship them and didn't ship them. And then they did this and they did that. Meanwhile, it's a back and forth situation. I probably won't see them till late August. They were promised to me in 8 weeks, but here we are at the 9-week mark, and I'm not seeing anything. It would really be nice to have the actual wheels on here to see what the relationships are, but I have spacers on these wheels right now to push them out to where the new wheels are supposed to be. But I don't like flying blind like that, but that's what I'm doing on most of this stuff right now. So anyway, that's it for now. Short update, but I'll be filling in these blanks under here next, and we'll just go on from there. So nothing exciting going on except trying to match up the other side now that I've established what I want to do and how I worked it out on this side. So having to duplicate everything, so it's just going to be, like I say, just repeating the process on this side and mocking up the top of the hood, or the hood over here, so I can finish out the top of the fender. I've already started by matching the rim of the front bumper and putting the roll piece underneath of the bottom of the bumper. And what I'm going to proceed to do now with the fender off is, in this area I have to put a flange, so that, and then a complementary flange that I'll be welding the fender to, that'll bolt through here in some location where I can reach in, and that'll hold the fender to the bumper in this area and help keep the alignment. So what I'll do is I'll just bandsaw the shape out, and what I've done is I made a paper pattern like this and traced it out on the steel. And a little trick here to do, if you want a 3/4 inch or 1 inch or a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, piece. You just go along your line with some masking tape of the same width, and that projects the line out, and you get a perfectly even 3/4 of an inch based on this pattern over here. Pretty cool piece that I just picked up this week. Old piece. About $500 for this. It was circa 1960s. Looks like a regular old wood bandsaw, but it's not. It has a reduction gear, and this shaft moves in or out depending on whether or not you want to use it for wood, or if you want to use it for metal. Obviously, I just needed it for metal, so it's going to stay locked in the metal position. But just so you can see, this is a factory deal. I've never seen anything like this before. Oh, where's the plate? Oh, there it is. On the wrong side here. Metal and wood cutting. So that's what it was designed to do. So that I was going to try to make. See, I have a wood bandsaw over here that's almost identical. This is from the 1980s, almost identical in the casting and everything else. And I was going to try to get one of these because it's cheap, and get a motor control and slow the motor down to do metal work. But as was explained to me, that will not work, in that you lose all the torque when you reduce the motor speed, unless you do this, which is to use a reduction gear. And so that spins pretty, at your normal RPMs, real high RPMs, I don't know, 1700 or something like that. And then this reduction gear in here slows the blade down, but it keeps the torque up. So perfect for me. Metal bandsaw, upright bandsaws go for, cheap ones are north of $1,000, $1,500, more like $2,000 if you want a decent one. So for $500 for whatever I need, for a little bit of cutting that I need to use a bandsaw for, this is kind of nice. What's nice about cutting a shape out of sheet metal with a bandsaw is if you try to shear it, it always distorts it up, and you have to flatten it back out and recorrect it and so forth. But if you've got something like this, you can just cut it flat, and it maintains its shape. So that's what I'm up to right now. So what I got going here is I cut this shape over here to finish out the back side of the bumper right here. And originally I was going to have this bolt up. You see these 3 holes here. I was going to weld some capture nuts, and I was going to bolt it up right here. But after looking at it and seeing where everything else is down in this area here, I realized that it's probably not going to be able to get my hand up in here to wind these nuts in here. So it's secured down at the bottom here, and it's going to be secured on the top. But I want the fender not to wander in and out relative to this shape, so I have to do something to stabilize it. So what I did was I made a companion piece here. And this is what the fender will weld to right here. But for now, in order to do the construction, I made a aluminum spacer that goes in between the two. And these are just bolts with a sleeve on the end, or a shank on the end, and I cut them off, so now they're acting as just guide pins here. So that will guide the front of the fender in, lock it into these holes here, so it won't move in and out from side to side. And for now, I'll put the whole mess on just like this, and put some bridge welds on here to hold it, and that'll maintain a nice 1/8 of an inch spacing. And later on, I'll have a small rubber molding that will go in there. It'll take up the space. The aluminum will come out, and that should hopefully keep it from chattering against the fender. But yeah, it's a lot of little knickknacks here you got to think of ahead before you just barge on and do the next thing. So